Hello and welcome to this first thoughts on this channel. We talk about Doctor Who when we find the time to do so. But you
Yes.
know what? RTD's back at 60 years, kind
It's a
of.
good time.
So we're making the effort. We're doing it just for you. Our I
we
don't know how
are.
many the
We
last
are.
video got.
Be
The 12
thankful.
listeners. Yeah,
Be
yeah, exactly.
thankful.
Yeah. Anyway,
Fine.
so Wildly Yonder part two, I guess. It's kind of like a
Yeah.
part. They're like it's all kind of
Special
connected. It's
two.
got that
Yeah.
through. It's got that through line. Yeah, special two. Wild Blue Yonder. This is the one where they've been really secretive about it.
Hmm.
I hadn't really shared much. I get that in a way because
Well,
if you revealed that it was just them in the episode, you'd kind of like start to work out who the villains were. And
well,
I really enjoyed kind of discovering what
yeah.
the adversary was live, watching
Yeah.
it.
Same. Same. I mean, I guess it's also, yeah, just the fact that there wasn't. I mean, the entire thing was not like there wasn't like a lot of trailer shots anyway. Like there wasn't a lot of stuff where you could be like, yes, this is a moment. What they picked out when they did show things were just like a few lines. But like, yeah, this is a very sort of dialogue heavy mystery building episode. And for my money, it does that side of it absolutely phenomenal. You're left completely sort of unsure, and like it builds up from like this, you know, fairly standard, you know, like happy go jolly beginning, and then it's like, oh fuck, what now?
Yeah, yeah, it definitely. I found it was interesting watching it because I guess it's very similar to Midnight when it is it's like the
Hmm.
cousin to Midnight. Let's be honest. Like I think RTD wanted to do you know something along those
Yeah,
lines because he knows it's one of his most beloved scripts
yeah,
from
yeah.
his era
Well,
before.
I described it as Midnight had a baby with Flatline because of the enemies.
Yeah.
In terms of its premise, is actually very similar to Flatline.
Yeah, because they were dissecting, weren't they, and trying to work out
Hmm.
what we were like trying to work 2D, trying to work out 3D, which was a
Yes.
cool concept. And yeah, this definitely has those similar things, not things trying to understand matter
Yes.
and there were some really nice moments with it. I the setup was great. The Isaac Newton opening, let's start there
Hmm.
because that was very random, almost unneeded. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I mean, I kind of get it because, it kind of leads you into a false sense of security that it has a kind of a lightish opening, kind of a silly thing they do with Isaac Newton. Like it really comes across the contrast and. I guess in a
Hmm.
way, kind of makes the impact of "oh my goodness, the Tardis is gone" kind of hit, you know.
Do you know? I feel like maybe Russell was looking at. Well, this is the 60th anniversary.
Hmm.
They go, what is Doctor Who? Well, it's time traveling forward in
Yeah.
time, but also back. And when you look at the Star Beast, Wild Blue Yonder, and the Giggle, I don't know if they'll go back in time in the Giggle. So he's a bit like,
We
oh,
don't know,
well,
but
I think maybe he wanted some historical figure in here
maybe,
because that is
maybe,
that is kind of to celebrate this
yeah.
60th. I know people probably aren't fully seeing it, but that is a celebration
Also,
of the Doctor goes back in time.
I'd point out that this scene is strikingly similar to what they, I guess, in terms of filming dates, later do with Destination Scaro. Like it was actually very similar, just in terms of like the whole like, oh, I'm saying too much. Oh, sort of premise of it.
Yes, yeah. It kind of It's funny how it's basically copy and paste. Like they cause the thing to happen, they get out of there. But this Mavity thing is so interesting. Like,
Hmm.
does the Doctor say Mavity at one point? Like, does it change? Because it's interesting. I
Well,
didn't pick up on if the
no,
Doctor said Mavity. I
I
know
think no.
Donna says it.
Donna says it. No, the doctor keeps the gravity. He picks that out, like that. Donna says
Yeah.
Mavity. No, I don't think the doctor ever says Mavity. So yeah, and
Yeah.
he says
I hope.
gravity.
I don't know whether this Mavity will be a long running gag. I kind of think it would be
I
quite
can
funny if they just keep going with it. That it's just referred to as Mavity all the
I
time.
can see it. I can see it being a thing.
Just a really silly joke, but then at some point leads into something bigger, like it has this knock-on effects. But just into Shooty's era, it should just be this running joke.
It's
Just
just
people call
yeah.
it Mavity. Like it's just so silly and goofy and dumb. But
Mm,
yeah, but yeah, I think you're right. It puts you in this wrong sense of security. This opening, and then you end up on this beautiful set
mm,
in far future, and I love the infinity, the way they made that look so big, the ship.
mm,
They really sold it,
yeah.
which I think helps a
Though
lot.
I would say, and I mean this is kind of a thing throughout the episode to a certain extent. Like CG elements are a bit more obviously CG, certainly compared to the last special. You know,
Yeah,
like last episode,
yeah,
I think I specifically mentioned that I couldn't tell when like you had like a CG meat running about at one point or this thing or that. Whereas this episode, like the moment they went to the hallway, it was beautiful, but I could I could tell that was on a green screen.
yeah. There was some bits where it was a bit like, I don't know. It's because they made it bright white. I think was
Hmm.
almost the issue. Like it just makes it so the stark, perfect, clean. I don't know. I don't know what would have helped with it.
Hmm.
But but yeah, I loved all the visuals of
Visual
outside the
effects.
ship.
Yes.
The ship design was
Hmm.
great, and
Yes.
I loved that bit. And I really enjoyed the Doctor slowly. He's slowly working it out.
Yeah.
And what was
Well,
great was obviously that was what was kind of used against him. He can't stop
yeah.
thinking,
Yeah.
and
Can't
as he
stop thinking.
thinks,
Yeah.
they can read
Before
their
they pick
minds.
up. And just the hopelessness of the situation. Like, yeah, not only has the TARDIS gone, but the Sonic was in the keyhole, which is
In it,
an
smartly
interesting.
done.
I mean, I know they've taken the keyhole before. They did it. The Sensorites took the keyhole before, so we know that's an
Yeah.
established thing. it was interesting, and yeah, that whole little scene was nice. Um, just sort of
Yes, when he's talking to her and he's like, "I will get you home." But like, I like when they start to kind of argue, and then he's like, "No, I'm not doing this," kind of thing.
yeah.
And then that was a really nice scene. What I also love though was all the shots from like watching from like in the vent.
Mm,
Like there was all these like cutaways where they're like
yeah.
the not things. Like what do they look like when they're not that? I
Mm,
I love creatures like that.
yeah.
And that's why Midnight was great. And Weeping Angels in a way, because you're like, well, you don't look like angels, you just freeze like angels. Like in my mind, I think they look even more grotesque and scary. And I see there's a Weeping Angel just
Yeah,
to.
well, no, it's just something I found at the bottom shelf. But like, it's one that technically you gave me this, but it's like a crap cardboard one that's been printed wrong, and you
Hell
didn't want
yeah.
it, and you pass it on to me, and it's just been
Yep.
sitting in actually the bottom of that cabinet for ages, and I had to take it out
There we
quite
go.
recently. But yeah,
Protecting you
I
from
guess so.
rats.
Thankfully, you're
Eat feast
looking at
on
them.
rats. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
I'll try not to blink. But
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
most of
that
this episode is just like so driven by just the Doctor and Donna's back and forth, whether it's more light-hearted or whether it's more character based.
mm, mm. And it's I like how even early on he says, "Oh, is it a countdown or something?" Like he says what it is. Like he
Yeah,
gets it right early on because it is. It's like it makes sense. But
yeah.
yeah,
He doesn't know
so
that. It's just things he's throwing out at that point in time, and that's what's good about it. Is that nobody has a grasp of this. It's just you know they set up this mystery and picking apart. Okay, what's this, what's that. What does this do? Like exceedingly well in this story.
mm. Yeah, the whole world was really well created, and just that the theme of it just being in this void of nothingness,
Hmm.
and that just becomes scary anyway
Hmm.
in itself. It's
Oh
like
yeah.
they are completely alone out here. Even the concept that the door opened and then closed.
Yeah.
That was set up. That was to make us think that, oh, the creatures came on at that point. But no, they were
I mean,
already there, kind of thing.
I did immediately think like given the context, I actually didn't think it was the creature necessarily that came on. I just and actually this was kind of right, but you know, I kind of just assumed that the whole crew jumped at that point, just being so isolated. But yeah, it turns out it was
Mm.
just the captain floating around.
Yeah, yeah. When they did that open shot, I was like, that was
Because yeah,
chilling. That was
that
very much
because they're talking about it right
like
after going, you know, about how isolating it is and how you know, and then talking about where all the crew was gone. So for me, I was led to believe, okay, they just couldn't
they
take
got
it.
driven mad by the void. Yeah, yeah. That like that was it. Everything you could take in so many ways that made it
Hmm.
more chilling.
Yeah.
I think. And yeah, just the way that they set it up that, like they were both in different rooms, and then when the doctor came in, I was like, that's not the real doctor. I knew from that
Yeah.
point they would do. I got that straight away. I
Yeah.
knew that I
Same.
was like, okay, we're going this way. But then like the arms being weird and like all this was
Mouth.
just
Yeah.
this is where so it's been what? It's been 2 days.
Yeah.
2 days since it came out. And it's after I watched this episode, I didn't quite know how to feel
Hmm. Same.
about it.
Same.
I think it was a lot in a
Yes.
lot of good in there, but also it was the villains are weird, right?
Yeah.
And
Somewhat
not
intentionally so.
not quite. They have personality, right? They're
Hmm.
not the midnight creature.
No.
What's scary about the midnight creature is that it has no personality. It
Hmm.
just copies and
Yes.
maybe at the end, pretending through Sylvia, but that is it Sylvia or no? No. Who is it?
Sky.
Sky. Knew it was an S.
Yes.
And that kind of, that non-personality thing, a bit like the flood in Waters of Mars,
Hmm.
again, lack of personality. Well, these guys had personality, and it was
Yeah.
like, well, what of it is the Doctor? What is it of Donna? And there was, yeah, so obviously there was a lot of body horror
Yeah.
in like them not being able, but I also found that some of the body horror ended up being kind of weirdly humorous
Yeah,
in a way.
like the mouth falling open was straight up the mask.
Yeah,
Really.
the mask, and also it made me think of the Almost People. Do you remember in
Oh
that bit with the
yes, yes,
flesh she goes
yeah,
to eat?
yeah.
That moment, and that just never looks. It never looks great.
I mean,
But like
it
the arms was kind
mm,
of like interesting because right, okay, I could see the weight just and getting the length wrong.
yeah,
It was quite Slender Man. Even the second knee was a bit like ugh. Teeth,
yeah,
yeah, I could get that. But then there was like when they were getting chased, that suddenly that they were just massive out of nowhere, which was kind of wild. But it
mm,
was just there were bits where it was like kind of goofy,
yes,
but also but I guess they didn't pretend that it wasn't goofy. They were a bit like that's weird. Like to them that
yes,
would be weird if you saw a massive version of yourself just filling up a space.
yeah, yeah.
Like yeah, and it was bits like that which made me not terrified of them, but also
No,
I was scared by the concept of them, but I think by execution I wasn't fully, and that's where I think
um,
I'm finding it. There's some weird
yeah.
bits
I guess
where
the best.
where
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I
you
guess the best way I yeah, I guess the best way I described how I feel about it is sort of unsettled, but not. Yeah, not. Yeah, I wasn't. I mean, not like really. I'm like screaming at TV shows very often, but you know, like yeah, but like it wasn't because of the body horror aspects that I was unnerved. It was because of how they are, the way they talked, and you know,
yeah.
kind of the intentions behind that. You know, like David Tennant and Catherine Tate did those phenomenally. Like the sort of like the disconnect, but also the wanting to. Yeah, it was really the performances were chilling,
Yeah.
but yeah, quite frankly, yeah, like I think to an extent the CG inherently, and I guess the fact that they did decide to go in directions of like having like them become huge and do that and whatever. Yeah, it did perhaps take some of the horror out of it that might have. But then, how else would you do it given the actual premise?
I don't think, in some ways, I don't think you needed to do too much body horror. I think the horror is like they're being chased by potentially. So when they got split up, the scene I kind of really wish had been in there
Hmm.
was, when Donna fell down that slide bit,
Yeah.
and then the door opened, she walked through it, I think, and then she heard something in the black, in like the dark,
Yeah.
and then it just closed shut, and it was a bit of a
Yeah.
jump scare.
Yeah.
I would have preferred out of a black, like David Tennant to be running towards her,
Hmm.
but then the door just closed. And you
Yeah.
don't know if that's the Doctor or not. Like, I would have preferred a few more moments where they're
Hmm.
scared to be in each other's presence because they don't know if
Yeah.
it's the real one or not. And just a bit more, or bit more of that. I think they kind of found each other quite quickly.
Hmm.
I wouldn't have minded maybe one more time, like just for them to have been split up a little bit more.
Hmm.
And like then she's being like, the first time it's not David Tennant, maybe the second time it is, but she runs away because she's like, "Ah, I don't
Yeah.
know if it's you, um, just something a bit more like that. Like, can you even trust them at the end moment? Just a bit more, because
Yeah.
they had that brilliant scene, right, where that you very well written. You think it's the Doctor's doing the smart thing, it's taking the tie off.
Yeah.
Like this, the creature wouldn't think of that,
Yeah.
but it
Yeah.
was the creature. They set it up very smartly that each time you kind of they got the fakes to start the conversation in
Hmm.
both of it,
Yeah.
which makes you believe that's the one I believe because they started the conversation and they're the hero. So
Hmm.
naturally, you just believe that. And just a great moment when Donna's like, "Where's your tie?" And it's like, oh, when something isn't there,
Yeah.
it's not gone. Like, just a great moment. And then he did the lean back thing, which was creepy. But then they did the head through the legs, which just looked so badly comped. And I was just
Hmm.
like, oh no, just do the exorcist walk. Just do the spider crawl,
Which he was
which looked
doing.
good. Yeah, he did that, but it was just a head through the legs.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean,
Like they could have.
actually, in terms of how they filmed it, that's what they did, and then they added
Yeah, but
the
then they had to add David
had
Tennant, and
the
then it just looked
yeah
badly comped. Like, yeah, I wouldn't have done the head through the legs. I would have just had the Doctor turn and just do it upside down or something. Like that would have been more unsettling, I feel, but not
hmm,
too far where you're like, this can't be on TV kind of thing. But
yeah
yeah, so obviously the big thing is both we knew this was coming, but Flux and the Timeless Child kind of arc were mentioned.
yeah
Timeless Child very, very briefly, not really
yeah. I mean,
much.
he very much like alludes to the fact that it's all complicated. I mean, it's mentioned a couple of times of timeless children, but yeah, the flux is the more, in fact, powerful thing. And kind of goes back to something we really were asking for, like, after Flux. Is that yeah, half the universe was destroyed, and it's literally not even, even hinted at. Like, even, yeah, for the rest of Jodie's run. Like,
Yep.
and Flux sort of ends on a we did it, gang, sort of
Yeah,
feeling.
it just kind of
It
ends, and
it
they mentioned it a little bit, I think, in Eve at the start, and that was it, really. Rebuilding the TARDIS, I think, after the Flux or some
yeah,
shit
after the
like that,
Flux,
because
yeah,
that's
but
why they
but they
got
don't
stuck.
mention the rest of the universe, and we. I think I remember distinctly that we were talking about that at the time. It's like this should be a big deal. Why is this just
Yeah,
you know?
where's the Doctor crying in the TARDIS? Like, and that's what we got here, where he has his little breakdown. His little remember, he's in the hallway, and he starts banging on
Yeah,
the thing, going and then he kind of that's how his system is like, right, okay, I need to find Donna. But
yeah,
is it incredible how we've had more like the most deepest thing about the whole of Flux is in like a different era of the show,
yeah,
which is kind of mental, really. But
yeah.
there we go. I'm kind of glad they done it. It
Hmm.
actually almost retroactively makes it slightly better.
It does. It does. That
Like
it actually.
Jodie was keeping it all in kind of thing, and now David Tennant's kind of a doctor who's
Yeah. And
letting
again,
it out.
you know, yeah. I mean, but we can't really give Jibble any credit for that
No,
because
no, it's
it
RTD going back and fixing things. Because it's
yeah,
funny, he did in his article. I know he's not going to call out his friend in person, but he
yeah,
does talk about like in one of them in the recent Doctor Who magazine. He was like, "Oh, like the Doctor just didn't react to things," and in my head, I was just, "That's not right," and so on.
yeah,
I think he probably felt that with this.
yeah,
He's not gonna get rid of this thing. That would be insulting to his friend Chris
no,
Chibnall. He's written that storyline. Fair
he
enough. Like
improved it.
I
Uh,
still, yeah. Do you know what? In some ways, yeah, adds some mystery to the Doctor. He's still a Time Lord. He still grew up on Gallifrey. It
yeah,
just means that, well, we don't really know who he is, and I guess
yeah,
it does add that who element.
I
Which
guess.
the more I sit with it, the more I'm like, do you know what? I guess it adds a bit more mystery. As long as they never really, I just hope they never explore it. I hope they just leave it at
Yeah,
that, and then
yeah,
it just leaves that question. Well, yeah, it was Gallifrey. It
yeah,
was Time. Do you know, like,
yeah,
and
yeah,
I could just leave it at that, and somewhat I can ponder it, and I can think,
yeah.
Doctor Who, and
Mhm.
that's enough for me. I don't want it
Yeah.
answered anymore.
No, I'm still not the biggest fan of the premise, but whatever. It's part of the law now. You can
Yeah,
either sit
yeah,
here and be salty about it, or just accept it for what it is, and you know, see if
yeah,
anything, if there's anything done like how it's touched on here and such. So
yeah. I
yeah,
mean, this added extra to the episode, right? Like,
mm,
and then you could tell at the end he kind of wished he could talk to
yeah.
Donna about it, but
I mean that's
as
that's
she says,
that's
she's
that's the
like,
great thing is that perhaps and how that goes through the Doctor's mind in that there was a Donna that he could talk to this about and get these sorts of feelings out, but it's not the one that's really Donna. And there was a you could tell like at the end like there was a disappointment there. There was a I really wish there was somebody who understood sort of feeling.
yeah, you just know all the thoughts and thinking I've had, kind of thing. Yeah, the shared brain,
Hmm.
because that would have made it easier for him rather
Yeah,
than having to speak his feelings. But
yeah,
yeah, I mean, yeah, once again, music brilliant.
oh
You
yeah,
know, looks great. I love the scene where they both kind of reflect on what they think their retrospective families would be doing, or
hmm.
retrospective, like Donna's like,
Yeah,
oh, they'll move on, but Gramps won't. Wilf will still
hmm.
be there.
Yeah.
He'll watch every day, and then the Doctor's talking about the TARDIS,
The
and he wonders
TARDIS.
where it
That
goes,
is a
and
beautiful like I wouldn't say quite monologue, but yeah, it is. It's a beautiful section that whole thing about the TARDIS. Like I love that so much. So poetic. So so vivid in
it's
terms
just
of
nice seeing how the Doctor thinks sometimes about
yeah.
really not important things. Do we like how often do we get that where the Doctor's just thinking about? I
Hmm.
wonder where the TARDIS goes, and oh, what if
Yeah.
it lands in this place, and they worship it, and then all these years later, and
Yeah.
it's just there, the box, and then it comes back.
I,
Really nice moment.
I really,
Yeah,
really like the 14th Doctor. It's a shame we're not going to have him for very long.
I know. I kind of wish we were getting a whole mini series, really, because
Hmm.
you could do a whole series with just this plot line, right? This
Yeah.
Doctor and Donna are back. Because I feel like a bit of me is a bit like, is there enough time to explain the face as
I
a
mean, yeah,
thing?
they're going to explain the face. Like,
I know they're going
I'd
to
be.
explain it, but is it going to be enough time? I mean, this one's, I think, an hour and 5 minutes. This the giggle coming
Yeah.
up. This was the shortest one, which I get
Yeah.
why.
I think pacing
I
wise,
would
it
have.
was exactly as long as it needed to be.
Yeah, I
Uh,
wouldn't mind it one more scene, where, as I said
I
earlier,
mean,
but
one scene doesn't matter so much, but I think it's about right.
yeah,
The
no,
mystery built up, the tension was there, and it sort of ends when you want it to end, rather than it.
yeah. I
And
do find it funny though how the TARDIS is a bit like, yo, I'm out of here, this is
yeah,
dangerous, but then we'll return just before the spaceship explodes. to get its
Yeah,
passengers. The logic there is like, so it comes back for
but
its pilot
she,
and passenger when there's imminent danger of it about to blow up.
well,
But also, it's like, why not just let them take them away straight away? Why disappear in the first place? Unless, I guess, those creatures.
she's very complicated, you know.
Yeah, I guess she's like, well, I know these things are gonna die,
Hmm,
but if I stay here, perhaps like that will change the
yeah.
timeline. So I have to. I don't know. To me,
What?
because I just rewatched that
Yeah,
moment just before we started the call, because I was like, wait, how did it know? And it's because it's a time machine.
yeah,
It knew it would run out of
yeah,
time, but I guess it only knew it would run out of
yeah,
time if it left at that moment,
yeah,
etc., etc. Kind of, it knows its own story
yeah.
that it has to play, oddly.
Well,
But yeah, I love.
yeah.
So obviously, there's a few more things I want to talk about. Obviously, I love the bit where he picks the wrong Donna.
I was about to say,
Great
yeah.
moment.
I thought Donna was dead. Like
Yeah,
genuinely,
I generally thought
I thought he was just gonna take back the fake Donna, and that the giggle was there was just gonna be a fake Donna, you know,
for like the giggle.
and that'd
Yeah,
be part of the plot is that when the Doctor finds out and realizes he's left Donna to explode in the ship, like that would have
yeah.
been.
I wonder if he'll try and push that. Maybe he'll try in the
Mm,
giggle. Maybe he'll be like, "Are you sure it's the right one?" Like even then, like
well, no,
could be scary.
because Donna and the TARDIS started going and stuff.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
we
Oh
know.
well,
They didn't leave that
it's
up
for
to
certain.
interpretation.
Yeah, that was so intense that end bit though. The tenseness was good in this. Like I
Mm,
felt really invested in the episode, which was from kind of the point I was a bit like waiting for things to get going a little bit
mm,
until they kind of sat in the seat and there was the drone. That's when I kind of was like, okay, I'm kind of invested a bit more. They're in the middle of nowhere, and that's when I was like, there's some midnight vibes coming. I
yeah,
just knew by the location,
mm,
isolated, alone.
yeah,
That's the kind of I knew
yeah,
some kind of it would be some kind of creature along those lines. So when it was doubles, I was like, okay, this is interesting.
yeah.
Like,
To be honest, I can't think of many other Doctor Who episodes I was this sort of engaged with in a way. I guess I was just
mm,
watch like there are episodes I've enjoyed more, but like I was wanting like I was really focused on what was
yeah,
going on. Like I wanted to sort of hear it all. I wanted to make sure I was getting the mystery, and like I just think this episode, if nothing else, does a really great job of just like drawing you in and wanting you to know more.
yeah, yeah. I think. I know that I liked this episode. It's just I don't
Yeah.
know how much. I still don't know. I think I need to rewatch it.
Same, same.
Um,
I was gonna
you know,
rewatch before this. I ended up running out of time,
yeah.
but
I mean, the Star Beast is definitely. I'd say this is a stronger story than the Star Beast in the
yeah,
way that this is like an acting master class,
yes.
and
Again, David
the
and Catherine are
tension's higher,
so
and
fantastic here for both sides of doctors and
yeah,
donnas and fake
yeah.
doctors and donnas. You know.
You just wish we had like one more story as well as the giggle. Do you know what
Yeah,
I mean? Like just
yeah.
one more, just four.
Mm.
We would have said that whatever. But ah,
But
goodness. But yeah,
there was a time where we only could have had one more episode with them.
yeah,
There's
yeah.
so like the fact that we've gotten three is nice.
Three is awesome.
If that was what they could fit in, then I'm just glad we got this at all. I'm not gonna lament too
Yeah,
much
yeah.
about. I guess
But yes, so kind of the two things then left to talk about. Let's start with Wilf. Obviously, it was Bernard
Mm,
Cribbins' last scene.
yeah.
Um, so lovely, bittersweet.
Oh,
Obviously,
absolutely, absolutely. You got a hug. You got.
he acted his heart out in that little moment,
Mm,
and it's just nice that in that universe that he got to see that Donald was okay and the
yeah,
doctor
yeah.
and his face again, like just yeah, short and sweet, like and a good setup for the next story.
Yeah,
I like
yeah,
how that all connected.
yeah,
But that's it for Wilf.
yeah,
That's all we see really.
yeah. They did. I mean, Russell T was saying in things that they didn't. That was all they filmed. We know that there was a bit more filmed because
Yeah, there was
they
a
did
bit
more.
where they
They sorry
him into the TARDIS. They wheeled him in, didn't
they
they?
wheeled
And
him into the TARDIS. Donna pushed him across a road and stuff like that. There was more filmed, but presumably there certainly wasn't enough to sort of link it. So like if they went to the TARDIS, there was not going to be any thing with him in the TARDIS, for example. So I mean, I guess it just couldn't. You know.
yeah, it's like you just got to cut that out really.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but I hope we get to see those scenes.
I think in the novelization they'll include it.
I think
So I think we'll get a good idea from the
that makes
novelizations
sense. But
how
I also hope that we do just get like special features on the DVD/Blu-ray with it.
of
Just so
those
we can,
scenes. Yeah, that would
yeah,
be nice
because
actually,
we
just to
got we
see.
got the Jeffrey Noble ones in series 4.
Yeah, yeah, that would be nice. I hope they do that.
Yeah,
But yeah, so obviously, just a lovely scene, lovely moment, so great to see him again, especially
yeah,
after obviously his face and everything. Like,
yeah,
but yeah, it was hard to watch in a way, just because obviously
yeah.
the excitement of him returning kind of just is the
It's
bit. As soon
it's
as that news
bittersweet. It's
broke, it
bittersweet.
was like it's we were never going to be able to fully. I obviously I enjoy seeing Wilf, but yeah, it's that
Mm,
bittersweet edge. Like it's that
yeah.
slight. Oh, there he is. That's so kind of
Mm,
sad almost. Like it's hard
yeah,
to like
yeah,
get the joy that that scene was supposed to give when you're just like, oh, what a lovely, lovely man, and
yeah.
seeing him in
Yeah, no,
Unleashed and
it
stuff,
was
and
like I got to briefly meet him at like TV Film and Comic Con a few years ago. Yeah, he was lovely, and he was like allowing people even without like the paid for photos to just take selfies with him.
yeah,
And yeah, yeah, it was lovely.
he just
Yeah,
has so many quotable lines. Like they showed them obviously a
yeah,
bit in Unleashed, like "You will come with us, Will I Eck?" and Will Swiggle, and just
yeah,
yeah, just what an actor, what a character as well. Just
absolutely.
yeah, life is cruel. Um, and yeah, so there's that, and I'm glad we got to see him one last time, and he got to see David Tennant and all
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Um, and he gets a mention. I think they just kind of off screen say that he's back at his cottage or something, just staying safe probably from what's happening
yeah.
in the events of a giggle, which is obviously so we know that it's the toy maker. Now, what
Yes.
I love is the salt scene
Yeah.
in Wild Blue Yonder, where he brings in superstition and stuff, but right at the edge of a universe where the walls are weaker. What a lovely way to really
Mm,
make it so that the Doctor using like superstition is how the toy maker
yeah.
manages to
Which is
sneak
interesting
his way in.
because, like one of the rampant speculations about why the Doctor has this face something to do with the toy maker, but that can't be the case,
Mm.
given he's only just been unleashed.
Yeah, which to me is like I think this will be obviously a lot of a Doctor fighting in his mind, right? I think we see
mm,
one bit in the trailer, like the Doctor almost on strings and the toy maker cutting them or something. Like I think it's going to be really trippy, this one,
mm.
and I think it'll be a lot about like coming to terms with, you know, and actually, doesn't he say in the trailer it's time or something, or it's time to go? I
I
don't
actually
know
haven't
what he
seen
says,
it.
but oh right,
I kind of didn't. Yeah, just like
yeah, I don't
didn't
know.
think about it
They
because they don't play them at the end anymore. Like if it was at the end, maybe I would,
no,
but
yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
sort of like I don't know. Do I want to know more? Sort of thing. But
Yeah, it's a
I don't
lot
mind
of
hearing about it. But
Yeah, there's a few. They do show the classic, the Doctor kind of starting to
Yeah,
regen
I did.
shot.
I saw pictures of that. Yeah.
However, the background is the same as where Shooty says, "Somebody tell me what the hell is going on here."
Yeah.
But Russell's already confirmed that that background is green screen because if it showed the real location, it would be a spoiler.
Hmm.
So the fact that
Although
David's on that background,
maybe that's the case here as well.
yeah. So that's why I assume that David Tennant's the background here where it shows him regenerating is false. So
Yeah.
it's like, I wonder where that's happening.
Hmm.
Um, and there's a shot at the end of the trailer of Shooty in the TARDIS. Now, whether that's kind of towards the end, I know that they probably wouldn't show so much of the next Doctor coming up, but
Yeah.
because it's, this is just the 14th Doctor for a few specials,
Yeah.
people want to really know that, yes, Shooty's going to be on, this is when he's
Yeah.
appearing in
Yeah.
this episode, be there, be square kind of thing. I mean, the Christmas episode is what, 20 days away? 20
Yeah.
days, 21 days?
Not
Yeah,
long at all.
not long at all. I kind of wish it was in the 60th specials box set, but hey ho, I guess that would
Yeah.
feel a bit
Well,
weird.
BBC
It would
being
be in the
generous with
series.
episode pickings.
Yeah. Well, it'll be in series 14 or
Or
series
it will
1.
just be on its own again. Because they have a
Yeah, well,
tendency
we'll
to
see.
do that with Christmas specials, and I hate it.
Never during the RTD era.
No,
Right? They didn't do that. But
but
yes, after that they
does he
did.
have control over that?
I think he has a big. I
He
just
does have
think
a lot of
Russell has
sway, but
he has a lot of sway.
clearly,
Um,
both Moffat and Chibnall were not able to, get them to
yeah,
do
yeah.
that.
Who knows? But yes, so that's it. We're at the giggle really now, which feels so
Hmm.
weird that this is the one thing where it feels so like we've had nothing is because we've had 2 years build up,
Yeah.
and now we're at the last one. It's like,
Yeah,
oh
we're
my god,
done.
like
Yeah.
it feels kind of like it's almost like it's not enough after 2 years of build up. It
Yes.
always feels like
More.
I want more. I want more. I've waited so fucking long for this, and now it's almost over. But I guess arguably we do kind of get four because you're right. Like what the next one's on the 9th, so what then it'll
Hmm.
be 2 weeks and 2 days. So what's that?
Yeah.
16 days between. Yeah. So
Yeah.
really, it's four, and then we'll get a series trailer. So we'll have that to watch over and over and
Yeah.
and
And the
and go
14th
through that.
Doctor only technically has like 5 adventures because you have Liberation of the
Literally, yeah.
Daleks, Destination Skaro, you know, yeah, and then all three
Yeah,
of the specials.
it'll be interesting what causes the regeneration.
Hmm.
That's always the thing I find most intriguing about how are you going to kill this incarnation of the Doctor?
Yeah.
I just like that. I weirdly there's a weird fascination of how each Doctor dies. I remember
Hmm.
for so long I was so irked by the fact I didn't know how the Eighth Doctor
Yeah, but I think
died.
everyone was just
Yeah,
that
you
was the
just want that
one
knowledge of yeah,
gap in regenerations that we just never had. You know.
and you just wanted that answer. But yeah, so yes, and we've seen a few pictures. Might as well mention this now of obviously the church on Ruby Road, isn't
Hmm.
it? The church on Ruby Road. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure that's what it's called. And obviously this Christmas, well, it's not obvious, but goblins seems to be the
Yeah.
kind of very very first villain. That feels very fitting for like because let's be honest, a Doctor's first episode, you focused on the Doctor and the new companion, right?
Hmm.
So you kind of want a creature you don't have to explain too much, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to like, goblins, we get it. They're small and scary and they're
Yeah.
stealing babies. Like, there we go. And I think that's the part of the story is that Ruby got abandoned by her parents. I'm
Hmm.
guessing maybe the twist is that, goblins stole her like all those years ago or something
Hmm.
along those lines. It'll be interesting to see how they do it.
Or
But
it's Davida McCool. She did
yeah.
it.
But yeah, so I'm excited. It's nice that kind of it's funny how both times, well, this will be Russell's what second post regen story really, because obviously Rose is a different kind of one, but both on Christmas Day, so it's kind of
Mm.
interesting because obviously Christmas Invasion was Christmas Day, and now all
Yeah,
these years later, it's
Ruby
yeah,
is also
the
yeah,
church on Ruby Road, yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes in the story. But yeah, I get it. You want a simple villain so you can really focus on the companion and the Doctor,
yeah.
um, and focus on that element. Because if you're trying to
But
bring a really
we
big
which is funny
creature
given
in,
that we basically got that 2 episodes, well, 3 episodes before in
yeah,
Star Beast.
yeah, I guess but I guess you just have to do that, right? Where you've
Yeah,
got they
two
didn't
different
have to really do,
incarnations. Yeah,
yeah, they didn't really have to do too much for David Tennant because it's kind of like
yeah, but
he's the same but a little different.
this is still a distinct incarnation. You know,
Yeah,
we've
yeah,
very
he's a
much
bit
seen
more
that.
open.
Yeah.
Yeah, bit older, a bit wiser.
Mm.
Yeah. Oh, it's just a shame there's just not more. Like,
Yeah.
gosh darn it.
What can you do? What can you do?
But yeah, very much looking forward to the giggle. Very much looking forward to the Church on Ruby Road, and
Mm-hmm.
then looking forward to the series trailer after that because there will be one. There will be
Yeah.
one for sure, and hopefully an air date
Mm.
or at least a month.
Yeah.
Like April, come in May. I'd like if it was April, end of April into May. I
Mm.
think that would be a good period of time, really. So I kind of like Doctor Who in the evening when it's kind of still slightly dark, but not,
Yeah.
you know, I like it when it's dark out and then I'm watching Doctor Who. That's
Yeah.
what helped
That's
with this
fitting.
episode, right? It was
Yeah.
nighttime and they're at the edge of the universe. Stuff like that, it just helps with Doctor
Yeah.
Who. That's what helped
And I
when
mean,
it,
I ended up seeing
aired.
it like what 10 in the end. Given I was in a hotel,
Yeah,
I was in a hotel room watching it on a phone late. So
yeah, I think we were 9 p.m. we got about to watching it. So
mm,
yeah, so it was yeah, just atmospheric and yeah, I'm excited to watch it again. I definitely will.
same. Same.
Which is just the first time in a long time that there's been two episodes in a row that I'm like, I want to rewatch it the next day.
Yeah.
I haven't done that for so long now.
Mm. I
Even
very
rewatching an episode the day after, like
yeah.
I think maybe the last time was Kablam.
Wow.
Honestly, I think
God.
that long ago.
Yeah. And
Or
I'm not someone
maybe
who well
maybe
maybe what.
Fugitive of
Oh
a Doctor. Fugitive of Jardine even.
yeah.
That one I
Fugitive of
might
the
have
Doctor.
rewatched just because that was actually a pretty decent episode at the
Mm.
time. But
Yeah, I don't
yeah,
know. I'm still somewhat mixed about that one, but
it was
yeah.
the surprise Jack
I mean, that whole
that.
plot line was just
Well, then that went nowhere anyway. So there we go.
yeah, but it was
Teaches me to have hope in that era.
I was not yeah. Anyway, but
But
yeah,
yeah,
no, I very rarely rewatch anything. So, but I am interested to rewatch this. I mean, again, partially because again, it was late-ish and I was watching it on the phone, so I do want to watch it on bigger screen.
yeah.
Not that I feel like I've really missed out on anything, but
No, it is nice on a big screen though, especially
yeah,
the good like when it's the best graphics and really nice sets. Like,
yeah,
yeah. Yes. I'm looking forward to the giggle, which I will be watching live for
yes,
sure.
same, same.
There is an Arsenal game on at the same time, but I'm gonna Doctor Who
You
is
have,
just slightly more
yeah.
important. There'll always be other football matches,
Yeah, yeah. Particularly at this stage of the
but
season.
yeah, it is Aston Villa though. It is a big one, but there we go.
Yes.
Maybe I'll be doing myself a favour by not watching it.
Maybe
Who knows
they are.
if it's painful. Anyway, I think that about wraps up all my thoughts, all my first thoughts, the initial ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Conrad, can you just hold up your arms for me, just to make sure?
Well.
Those sleeves look a bit short. You're not think his
Hang on.
arms are
Hang
too long.
on. Ah! Ah!
Oh, I'm gonna have
How,
to do the podcast again with
oh
a real
no!
Conrad.
How did I
Those
do this?
prosthetics were cool though. Actually, the fact they did it practically was pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah.
The big
It's just this
arms.
funny picture of him with a grin, his arm out.
but
Hmm.
yeah, There we go. Well, we'll record at some point in the next week.
Yes, that we will. That we will.
Lots to talk about. And then, yeah, obviously Christmas as well. It should be fun. Nice. Well, there we go. Our 12 listeners. Tell us what you think, unless it's mean thoughts, and if you're going to complain about the new episode,
Yeah.
because I don't. I just want positive. So,
Doctor's
I
not
don't care.
allowed
I
to
don't care
like
if I'm.
men.
Yeah.
Pause.
Do you know what? Yeah. Yeah. If you're going to complain about the Doctor potentially being gay, fuck off. There we go. You can. Yeah.
Hmm.
I don't care. I don't have enough time to
Yeah.
worry about other people's
Nah.
bigoted thoughts. I'm not going to be
Yeah.
polite if you're going to be rude
Yeah.
to gay people. So there
Hmm.
we go. And on that note, boy.
Boy.